Snap stock is soaring. This is the Snap earnings analysis. Hello, everybody. This is StockerFinance. I'm your host, David Scheuer. You should follow me on Twitter at StockerFinance. Support the channel at patreon.com/StockerFinance. So recently, you may have heard Snapchat stock soared after reporting its third quarter earnings today. The stock is surging over 20% to over around $34 a share, which is just incredible. It's a new 52-week high. This is from the 52-week low of $7.89. So it's had an incredible recovery since the crash back in March. Its market cap is around $41.8 billion, a little higher than that actually by now as well. Pretty incredible story here from Snapchat. This is a company I've been following for a long time, one that I'm super excited about. I've been a long-term investor in Snapchat. And yeah, it's just really exciting that this news came to be. It's something that I somewhat expected to happen, but I didn't expect them to beat it by this margin and to have this good of results. I thought they're going to be pretty good, beat some expectations, but not just blow them out of the water. So there's a lot of news here that I was really excited about. Just a quick summary of what it is. I know this slide looks a little wonky here. Don't know why it's off-centered. Anyways, so positive user growth was massive. Positive revenue growth. The net loss fell to 200 million, just down 12% from 227 million last year. That's really important. I think that's actually almost more important than positive revenue growth, simply because, but in some other metrics, I shouldn't say positive revenue growth. That's obviously a very good metric. But the reason I'm saying net loss is so important and why it's down 12%, why that's so important, because that shows they might have a path to sustained profitability, or just profitability in general in the near future, that as of last quarter, people were starting to get a little worried about. It seemed like the direction the company was heading in terms of their revenue and their net loss overall was starting to turn around, do a U-turn, go back towards what it was a couple years ago. But now they've completely reversed the direction again, and they're heading in a very solid direction and path for this company. Daily active users grew to 249 million, up 4% from 238 million in July, from the July earnings report. So that's an incredible growth there in daily active users, another extremely important metric for these social media and communication companies and apps. If we move on here, I'm just going to kind of go through the summary of this article. I felt like summarized the earnings call very well. So Snap reported 249 million daily active users, up nearly 4% from the 238 million it reported in July. That figure is up nearly 19% compared to the 210 million daily users the company reported a year prior. To quote the Snapchat CEO, Evan Spiegel, he said the adoption of augmented reality is happening faster than we had previously anticipated, and we are working together as a team to execute on many opportunities in front of us. Snap said it used the third quarter as an opportunity to engage with brands that were looking to align their marketing efforts with platforms who share their corporate values. That coincides with the Stop Hate for Profit Facebook ad boycott, in which more than 1,000 advertisers paused ads on the social network during the month in July to boycott the company's hate speech and misinformation policies. So that controversy around Facebook, as well as with Twitter stopping political advertisements, was actually huge for Snapchat, because all those advertisers then moved over to Snapchat to try to, start getting to the millennial base, the younger audiences who use Snapchat, as well as some of the more older audiences that are now starting to convert to Snapchat as a way of communication and just to stay in touch with the younger generations. Perhaps they have kids or grandchildren that they want to stay in touch with, and Snapchat might be a way to do that. And because of that, Snapchat attracted a ton of advertisers from the Facebook controversy, some Twitter controversies as well going on. And because of that, I think a lot of these advertisers are going to realize that the way Snapchat advertises, with face filters, augmented reality kind of mixed in, just very unique geo filters as well, super unique forms of advertising, rather than just copy and paste it, just slap an ad in your feed. This is a much more unique and effective way. It's actually proven that has better effectiveness than other types of advertising. And so I think these companies are going to see that they're going to have better results with Snapchat, and instead they might say, well, heck, if we're having better results with Snapchat, we're making more money from every ad we place, we might as well just stay with Snapchat and forget about Facebook and Twitter or these other social media sites. And I have a feeling that's going to happen, and that's been happening, so just because of all these controversies surrounding other social media sites, with whatever it might be. So to quote again here from their chief business officer, this gave us an opportunity to engage with advertisers and agencies in real time to ensure that our existing partners as well as new prospects understood our offering in relation to our values. Now let's get into some numbers here, and I'm using hypercharts. The hypercharts.co/snap, the ticker symbol is SNAP. and AP for Snapchat. Just a super simple graphics for financial data. Definitely check this this website out if you want to just easily view financial data. It's a lot more simple and just kinder to the eyeballs than it is to go and scour through a financial statement like I usually do in my videos. So the daily active users here, you can see the immense growth in Q3 from Q2 there. Really steady growth all the way since 2018 Q4. So that steady growth there in daily active users is really important. And one thing that's really important as well is it's not just North American DAUs, it's also Europe and the rest of the world growing along with it. And in fact, I would argue here you could see a significant growth in the rest of the world daily active users. North America seems to have stayed just about the same with Europe daily active users, but the rest of the world daily active users grew significantly. And part of that is because Snapchat's been trying to implement their app as a way of form of communication and social media to stay in contact with friends, or just a new way to message during this whole lockdown thing around the world as well. We're trying to push that to other countries and to other parts of the world besides Europe and North America who have not yet experienced Snapchat as an app. So I think that's going to have a lot of user growth going on in those areas. Now, they still haven't been able to fully monetize on them. Significant portion, nearly all their revenue is coming from North America, despite having their daily active users pretty much split into thirds with Europe, rest of the world, and then North America. Their revenues is almost entirely coming from North American revenue. But again, I think part of this revenue increase is due to an increase in daily active users, as well as the boycott of Facebook, the Twitter controversies, and advertisers realizing that Snapchat is actually a really great place to advertise because the ads are actually more effective on that app than they are on other social media sites and communication platforms. Now, if we move on and look at revenue and operating income, and a significant increase in revenue, as we already saw, gross profit growing significantly as well, operating income still negative, but again, it's reversing the trend that it was heading on, and the nice thing, it's reversing that trend to perhaps positive operating income in the next future. And if you go ahead and look at operating expenses here, we had a slight increase in operating expenses, but again, on percentage basis, it's significantly less than of a gain in operating expenses than compared to revenue growth. This is great to see, which means their margins are going to be improving as well. The majority of their operating expenses are also in R&D, research and development, which is, to me, they're doing a ton of research and development in the augmented reality space. That's something that I really enjoy and hope they continue to pursue. Although I do think, spending nearly $300 million on research and development is a significant amount of money in one quarter for a company that, it makes a couple updates to its app. It hasn't done a lot of significant updates or significant changes or released of new products. So to me, I really want to see more out of that research and development, and I hope they come and release more products in the near future, perhaps another app or more stuff within the augmented reality space that they're getting really good at. General administrative basically stayed the same in terms of percentage basis of overall operating expenses. Same with sales and marketing. No surprise there. I actually thought sales and marketing might bump up a little bit as they try to take more advertisers from Facebook and from Twitter as well, and Instagram, of course. So anyways, I'm not surprised though that I'm surprised that it kind of stayed the same. It didn't grow a little more than I thought it would, but again, that's a good thing that they're able to attract more daily active users and advertisers without spending more on sales and marketing. And again, we see margins here, the profit margin, operating margin heading towards that 0% line. I know heading towards 0% sounds like a very negative thing, like, oh, they're below 0%. But remember, this company's never made a profit. So the fact that they are starting to have a trend towards profitability is huge for investors, because if they are profitable, then this is it makes this an actual investment in a company that's generating revenue, making money for its investors, potentially paying dividends in the far future, whatever it may be. And that's really good as an investor in this company. And that's part of the reason that the stock shot up so much today, because that trend towards profitability was shown once again. We started to lose hope a little bit last quarter when it seems like the trend had started to reverse, as you see in the profit and operating margins chart right here. But because of this reversal in the trend, I think it's incredible that they're starting to head, and the closest they've ever been, towards a positive profit margin, operating margin, and gross margin continues to slightly grow as well, just above 50% there. If we go ahead and look at net income, same thing with that I was talking about before. Net income is starting to see a reversal in the trend. So we were seeing it heads toward you're losing more and more money, and then eventually today, or when they reported earnings Q3 2020, a huge turnaround to just about negative 200 million, significantly less of a loss than it was in Q2 2020. And that reversal in trend and starting to head back towards the trend of heading towards profitability is exactly what you want to see as an investor in this company. Now, growth as well, we see a turnaround as well from the huge collapse in growth that we saw previously. They're going back towards, over 50% revenue growth year over year. Operating expenses grew slightly, about 25% year over year, a little less than that. That's not as big of a deal since on a percentage basis, revenue year over year is growing significantly faster than operating expenses year over year are. Move to cash flow. Cash flow starting to head back in a positive trend as it's been doing for the past few quarters. It's not like Q1 2020 where we saw actually positive operating cash flow. It's not there yet. Part of that's just the immense amount of money they're spending. Still have a decent amount of capital expenditure going on, but free cash flow is starting to trend towards positive as it's been doing for a while. So that's nice to see that. And if we move on here, there's just a little more of an article. And wow, I don't know what's going on with this slide. This is absolutely crazy. Sorry about that. It's not too distracting. I just thought this article from, I believe this is CNBC or Bloomberg, was just, they summarized the quarterly earnings report really well. So Snap stock price soared more than 18% after hours, now actually higher than 20%, as the company posted an unexpected and adjusted profit along with positive user and revenue growth. Now keep in mind, that's an adjusted profit. You probably just looked at the net income and you say, wait a minute, Snapchat didn't actually make a profit this quarter, net income zero. What's an adjusted profit? A big difference there. I always put adjusted in quotation marks because it seems like these days companies, everything happens to just be adjusted. Oh, we made $10 million adjusted when really they lost like $5 million. So, adjusted it's a weird thing and a weird metric that companies have been using lately, especially companies that have not yet made a profit. But again, revenue growth in its third quarter earnings. So here's what they reported on an adjusting earnings per share is 1 cent versus the expected loss of 5 cents, which is, it's a huge, the beating earnings, 1 to 5, that's a significant difference in adjusted earnings per share. So that's great there. Revenue, 679 million or 555.9 million. Global daily active users, 249 million versus 244.12 million. And ARPU 2.73 and 2.27. The company's net loss, just to recap, fell to 200 million, down nearly 12% from 227 million net loss last year, which is great to see. Now, why did Snap do so well? Well, the first reason, a very simple answer, is that kids are back in school, especially college-age kids, so the 20-year-olds to 25-year-olds, and even high schoolers as well. But the problem is they're doing all their, at least in North America especially, they're doing all their learning over Zoom, or at least a significant portion of their learning. Now, if you go to school every day, a lot of the times you like to go to school because you like to meet your friends, hang out with people, chat about gossip, what's going on with friends, people in the school. If you're in college, maybe, you want to go out with people, chat to people, maybe, if you're a dude looking for a girl or a girl looking for, a boyfriend, you want to chat with them, get to know them a little more, whatever it might be. Well, now you can't really do that, and it's incredibly difficult to do that. So how do you do it? Well, you have to find a way to communicate. And because of this lockdown, they're still needing a way to communicate. And in my opinion, you could say, well, why don't they just text or call? Where for some reason, kids these days, calling and texting is almost too formal. It's almost a little uncomfortable, actually, to go up and ask someone for their number. In fact, it's much more comfortable and more casual to ask someone for their Snapchat. If I were to go up and ask a girl for her number, it's significantly unlikely that she'll, if you compare it, okay, that sounded bad. It's not unlikely. But what I was going to say is if you compared it to me asking her for her Snapchat versus me asking her for her number, she's more likely to give me her Snapchat versus giving me her number, if you get what I'm saying there. I definitely overanalyzed that. Anyways, but that's one thing to take into consideration, is that texting is too formal, and also it's more difficult to communicate. When you Snapchat someone, you have the ability to, 1, FaceTime them directly through Snapchat, and number 2, you can also send a picture or video with text over it. And that's actually more significant than it sounds. A lot of people think that sounds really dumb and just simple. Okay, like you could just send a picture along with every text you send, through just Apple iMessage or something like that. But it's a very different, because this gives you a facial expression and an understanding of how they're feeling behind the message. If someone were to text you okay, it could mean a million different things in the tone in which they say okay. It could be just okay, or it could be angry, okay, or it could be really happy, okay. Like, what, you don't know what that means necessarily if you send a text, but with a face behind that text message, you can understand the meaning behind it, and that's why it makes it significantly a better way to communicate, especially in the younger generations. On top of that, Snap has unique advertising that performs better than regular ads. I already touched on that. Anyways, thanks for watching. Please subscribe. Check out these videos as well. Twitter at StockerFinance for more information. I'll definitely be tweeting a little bit about Snapchat. If you want to support the channel, patreon.com/StockerFinance. Have some good stuff over there, analyst reports. I actually have updates on my portfolio, my personal portfolio as well. I do monthly updates on that. Definitely helps a lot if you can just go ahead and check that out for me. Make sure to smash like on this video, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.